What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. I'm joined alongside Tim live in Green Bay. And we're here just on a beautiful Monday morning, ready to talk a little Green Bay Packers. Obviously, the Packers dropped a tough game yesterday in Pittsburgh. And, these are the growing pains we talk about, right? We're saying it every week. You get so close, you get within one score, winning a ball game. And when you're the youngest team in the league, you're lacking a little bit of veteran presence. It's gonna be hard to pull those games out. There's no doubt about it, especially going up against a head coach like Mike Tomlin and all the things he does well. I thought Tomlin put together a great game plan, and I thought our coaching staff did pretty decent too. The run defense obviously broke, and that's been kind of the reoccurring theme all year. But with that being said, I think we come away with some things that we can build off of. There's no doubt about that. And again, when you look at how this defense is built and, the emphasis we put on pass rush as opposed to, just the overall defensive play as far as, run defense, it can get tough, man. It can get tough. But Tim, how you doing this morning, buddy?
Doing good. Getting some coffee in me. It's not a victory Monday, but good morning, Lambeau. We're here. We're going to break it down. It's not all bad, like you said, right? We got some positives to look at here, and happy to be here, Clayton. Let's get the week started, right?
Heck yeah. And I just want to go ahead and forewarn everyone. I've got little Miss Etta and Lincoln in here with me this morning. So if you hear a bark, I'll be quick on the mute button. I apologize in advance, but they're hanging out up here in the studio with me today. So they're being pretty lazy right now. I think they're still a little depressed from the outcome yesterday. They felt it too. So, Omar in the chat says, your boy Rudy was a star yesterday. Again, Clayton. Isaiah McDuffie, another good game, subbing for Quay. Secondary strong again, but what good is that if they can run the ball down your throat every week? Exactly, man. There was a lot of missed tackles. And I know you said Rudy was a star yesterday. I think he led the team in tackles, if I remember correctly. But the problem with that is I've seen a bunch of negative plays for Rudy as well. I've seen a couple of times he was out of place schematically. And again, not watching the All-22 just in real time and going, who was that? Rewinding it. And yep, that was Rudy. Missed a few tackles too, even though he had a lot of tackles, right? But when you run the ball that effective and you get that many carries, there's probably going to be, an opportunity to have 10 plus tackles, but also an opportunity to miss a lot of tackles as well. But good to see you in here, Omer. I know we got a packed house. Let's see, we got a super chat from Josh Martin. Says, as bad as yesterday was, at least we ain't the Jets with Zach Wilson. Them fans are in full meltdown. Worse than the Bears after week one lost to us. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, did they lose last night also?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
Wow.
And it felt like Zach had another bad game. I didn't watch the game, haven't looked at the stats, but just following Twitter, it seemed like the same old, Tim. And it's why it's important, man, that you got to get this quarterback thing right. And I know they went out and got Aaron. They invested all of, that second round pick. They invest the money, especially long term, in the signing Aaron Rodgers, and he's hurt, not on the field. So you got to give them credit for doing what they needed to do to try to go for a run here. But when you see Zach Wilson as your starting quarterback, and he was a top 3 pick, top 5 pick, it just goes to show you that's not a slam dunk when you draft up there. But when you go to draft a quarterback that high, Tim, you better get it right, man.
Well, and you better put at least somewhat of an offensive line in front of them too.
Bingo. Great point.
One could say that that's a big reason Aaron Rodgers isn't playing football right now. And a reason that a quarterback like Zach Wilson is struggling, at least when it comes to our lackadaisical offensive line, we get some pass pro out of them. It seems like that Jets offensive line isn't doing run blocking or pass pro very well, and it's showing. So yeah, quarterback's important, but so are the other 10 guys on the field sometimes too.
Exactly correct. Josh Martin, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate you. Let's see. Red Mo in the chat said, does 200 yards rushing happen due to great blocking by the Steelers or personnel decision by Joe Barry? My dad could back a semi through some of those running lanes. Yeah, no, there were some big holes to run through. I haven't looked at the tape yet. I got lazy yesterday. I say lazy. We did 2 shows yesterday, but the multiple shows a day, Tim, are cutting into some of the tape time. Yeah. But that's all right. It's give and take. At first glance, it seemed like there were some big holes, but there were also a lot of missed tackles. So just kind of on the surface, I'm thinking when I look at the tape, and I try not to have a predetermined, view on what happened without watching the all 22 and the box cam, but it kind of felt like the holes were big to run through, but also there was a lot of missed tackles. So probably going to be about 50-50 on my part. You guys have seen all year long, I'm watching the run defense and I'm going, man, people are in position to make a play here. They're playing with a loaded box right now, all those things. This one kind of felt like there were some big holes to run through. So you'll probably hear me criticize Joe Barry more than I normally do as far as that goes. But again, we got to look at the pre-snap alignment. On the surface, Tim, what kind of sticks out to you there with that comment there? What did it kind of feel like to you watching it live?
Well, that's what I saw too. And that's, before we jumped on the post game yesterday, I had to take a little walk outside and kind of catch my breath because I was heated, man. I'm gonna be honest. I was heated, and 200 plus yards on the ground is gonna kill any chance you have at winning a game.
Mm-hmm.
Through some unbelievable grit and determination, we found ourselves still in that game. I often wonder if the defense gave up half the yardage they gave, what kind of situation we'd be in. But you know what, Clayton? It's not all scheme. It does come down to execution on the defensive side of the ball. I have to kind of walk back some of my comments as we were talking about Rudy Ford a few minutes ago. I was pretty high on Keyshawn Nixon yesterday, and I still am. I think he's not. We had some questions about him in the slot. I feel like he's serviceable as a slot corner, not a liability. But man, did I see some missed tackles from Keyshawn yesterday too? And a lot of that was in the run fits and the run game. So, here's the thing. Like you said, Clayton, you can't have it both ways, right?
Right.
You just can't. You're not gonna have a smothering run defense and a killer secondary approach. There's gonna be some compromise either way. I think what we're looking for as fans is to not get run over for 205 yards on the ground. We're looking at least a containment of a run game, limiting these gains, which they did at times, but not consistently, and that's what's killing us.
Yeah. And you can see on the tape, I watched like a 3-game saturation of the Steelers. They run a lot of that read and ride, right? Where they're or ride and read, however you want to word it, where they're out of the gun. They're kind of putting the ball in the belly of the running back, reading the defense, and then deciding the next move. It was just one of those situations where they were a better team. I mean, again, when I look at the run defense, think of this too, not even the run defense. Think of the play where Kenny Pickett there toward the end of the game scrambled for 11 yards on third down. If you'll go watch that tape, you'll see Rashawn Gary rushes upfield, right? And I'm sure they were told, hey, third and long, pin your ears back and go, right? You could tell Devontae Wyatt's responsibility was to engage and then kind of lay back. And you'll notice he lays back, gets his hips flipped to the inside. Kenny runs behind him. The goal there was let's rush up the field, engage, kind of fade back a little bit, and almost run like a little bit of a spy, like not necessarily a drop back spy, but occupy the offensive line so you get your singles, your one-on-one on the outside with Gary, and then be ready when he flushes out of the pocket to hit him. And you see Devontae Wyatt just get completely irresponsible, right? And it's why I'm not big on Devontae Wyatt. Guys, I was so excited when they drafted him. He was my top pick. So don't sit here and please don't think I'm sitting here going, oh, these guys don't know what they're doing picking. I was as excited for him as anyone. But the thing that's not developed, and you can see it all the way across the defense, what's the big negative? The negative is constantly missed tackles, right? And our run defense, right? So when you look at it, that they're not developing for that. They're putting so much emphasis on the pass rush. And you're going to come across teams like Pittsburgh, teams like Tennessee, these run-heavy teams where if all you're overly concerned about is stopping the pass and getting after the quarterback, you're going to give up a lot of yardage on the ground. And what's crazy too, Tim, when you looked at the box score, the defense only gave up 6 points in the second half, right? Now, granted, they gave up 17 in the first half, but they really hunkered down and made a great adjustment after halftime. That's one positive I came away with. But at the end of the day, man, you give your offense 2 shots to go down the field and win the game in the fourth quarter. What else can you ask from them? You know what I mean? And again, the shot play there, the some of the explosive plays came against man coverage, right? You've seen that on the outside, the back shoulder throw on Valentine, but yeah, good stuff, man. Again, it's a tough loss, but like you said, Tim, 200 yards rushing, inexcusable, can't happen. Matt LaFleur said it in the presser too. Like, yeah, this can't happen. Like,
and he also said something that my best friend, man, Tony, he was in the chat last night. And he was texting me during the game, and he hit it right on the head. He was like, man, too many field goals. I don't like this. There's too many field goals. And then we get Coach LaFleur in the post-game presser, and it's like the second or third words out of his mouth are like, yeah, we were just kicking too many field goals there when we needed touchdowns. And it's like there's another factor when it comes to execution. You know what I mean? Some of these drives, man, you finish these plays, we're not worrying about kicking field goals. We got another set of downs, and we're going to go in the end zone. You know, there were plenty of opportunities for us to win this game, and you know, I think we blew it on both sides of the ball. Really, it's kind of tough to put it on, you know, one side. Yeah. I think this was a team loss. Like I always say, you win and lose as a team. But certainly the 200 yards rushing definitely killed us.
Oh, it's brutal, man. Absolutely brutal. There's no doubt about it. Doug in the chat, member of the PTA Posse, says, kind of feeling this season is what we signed up for. Knew it was coming, but having trouble winning with the win-loss record. I like the direction that Jay Love is headed. You know, I do too. And here Romero kind of says the same thing. Doug, he says, question, is Jordan Love looking a little better? I think he is. If you remove that interception at the end of the game, and listen, I understand the most important play of the game was on second and whatever it was, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9. He tried to throw deep to Watson, forcing it to Watson again. And you're hearing a lot of hate on Watson. We'll talk about him in a little bit. Guys, the interceptions, and I'll talk about a Rob Domofsky tweet, but the interceptions that are thrown when targeting Christian Watson, I'm sorry, you can't blame those on Christian Watson. I seen somebody earlier on Twitter, they were, you know, another drop by Watson leads to a pick. And I'm sitting there going, dude, what are you talking about? He threw the ball into coverage. He threw it late in the back of the end zone, right? And he underthrew it to where they could get a hand on it. And anytime a ball gets tipped by a corner and another defender picks it off, I'm sorry, you're throwing into coverage. That's just that, to me, that's common sense. And again, people can fan how they want. I never comment on people's opinions on Twitter. I don't think it's right to jump in, oh, you're stupid for thinking that. No, people have the right to think what they want, but that's definitely the way I see it. Now, as far as is he getting a little better, I think he is. I've got a couple clips here. The 2 touchdown passes, guys, absolute dots. I mean dots. And let's go to the first one here. There may be sound, so I apologize if it's loud. This first one, there is no sound. I know that, but this is the touchdown pass to Jaden Reed right here. Drops back, looks, settles into the pocket. Look at his throw. Great job by Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's a baller, guys. I'm just telling you.
And that's a great example of what we talked about the other day, too, with throw it to where he's supposed to be, not where he is. And he laid that ball out perfectly.
Yep. And you could tell he was a little cautious about not wanting to overthrow him, right? Mm-hmm. But Jaden Reed does such a good job. He did this at Michigan State so well. Notice how he slows down, gets in position where the defender cannot make a play on the ball, and just secures it. He's a great player. There's no doubt in my mind.
You take a look at Jay Love there too, real quick, right there. Looks slightly off platform, but it's not. That left foot is buried in the turf. Yep. You know, he's got his legs under him, little hitch and a twist and let her rip. And this is what we were talking about. I didn't see a ball pat and hesitation there. You know what I mean? And throwing that ball late. Yep. So that was beautiful. I definitely see an improvement right there for sure.
Yeah. Jaden's one of those guys, man. I think he's going to be in Green Bay for a long time. And we're going to talk about some of his numbers here in a minute. Now, this next one's definitely got sound, so watch your eardrums, folks, especially you, Tim. This is the pass to Romeo Doubs. I want you to look at the placement of this ball. This is an even better ball than he threw to Jaden Reed. I'm going to mute it so we can roll it back a couple of times. Look at the placement of this ball here, Tim.
Yep.
I mean, that is absolutely perfect.
And look at great timing. Watch that top of that route by Doubs too, right there to the stick, and then he's going to stick that left foot by right there. It's over. And look, no hesitation. The ball comes out.
Yep.
Ball's already out as soon as he, makes that move. And this is what we talked about, because look, Rome's running out of room. If that ball's late,
like it has been,
that's not a tutty.
Right.
And, can't say enough about Romeo, man. The footwork, the technicality, the route running, the hands,
body control.
Body control. I don't know, man. I am a Romeo Doubs fan, and I'm hoping he's going to be around for a while too, because he's a solid piece on our offense as well. But yeah, great ball by Jordan Love. Put it where our guy can get it and nobody else can, and trust him to make a play. There's that trust we talk about. Trusted him to go up and get that ball. Beautiful throw right there. Nose down, coming towards the pylon. If it's long or incomplete, it's not picked off. That's what we're looking for.
Yep, definitely. And, again, Romero was asking in here, the question is Jordan Love looking a little better? I think he is. I do. And just like Doug said, this is kind of the year we signed up for, right? Some of us were going in saying, all right, man, I can anywhere from 6 to 10 wins, right? Now, I've got to say it because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to sound like, that I'm just changing my opinion as we go here. After that week 1 matchup with the Bears, I went, hold up, we might have something here, because you kind of seen them at their peak, right? Granted, it was a bad team, but we played a lot of bad teams this year.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like we talked about last night, I think if you go back this time last month and look at his play, and I'll look at how Jordan's playing, recently, I definitely see improvement for sure. Still things to work on, but improvement, which is what we're looking for.
Right. Let's see, Josh Martin with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Said, you see the Watson family throwing Love under the bus. I have not seen that, but I choose to Twitter a little bit different than everyone else. I don't go to the hot take arguments. I will say this. You say the Watson family throwing Love under the bus. I have a hard time believing that, because Christian Watson and Jordan Love are really, really good friends. I know Mama Watson's talked about Jordan Love to no end, and how much she loves the friendship that Jordan Love and Christian Watson have. And on top of that, it's when you guys go, not you, I shouldn't say you guys, when they go at her the way they, have you seen some of the stuff that tweeted at her?
It makes me sick, dude.
It's embarrassing, guys. It's a freaking embarrassment. Oh, your son sucks. Your son's fragile. You raised a wuss. It's like, listen.
Have another one, you degenerate bum, and sit on your couch and pass judgment. You can't even lift your ass up off of that couch. Yeah, people are ridiculous, dude.
Here's my rule of thumb on social media, and I've said it from day one when I started doing the podcast. If I wouldn't say it to their face, I'm not saying it on Twitter. And that's what you've got, is a bunch of freaking just internet tough guys. Imagine coming face to face with Christian Watson and saying, "You're made of glass."
Yeah. Or while his brother Trey's standing behind him too.
Exactly.
Another dude you don't want to really screw around with. And hey, man, that's a football family, man. Those guys have been playing football like since childhood, and Krista and Christian's sister, like they've been supporting these guys their whole life. There's no way I believe that they're tearing down a teammate. So I don't know what that's alluding to, but I guess we'll have to scroll the cesspool of Twitter and root around in the garbage section of it and see what we can find.
Wait around in there where it gets nice and
get your waders, Clayton. Get some waders and some rubber gloves and sift through all that BS.
Yeah. All right. Josh Martin with another super chat said, Clayton going to have to disagree. A 6'4" wide receiver can't high point a ball in a 50-50 play. He's got to high point it and fight for the ball. You mean like he did last week when Love threw it behind him? That one you're talking about? Remember the one he high pointed, twisted in the air, came down and injured his back on the play, knocked the wind out of him? You mean the balls that he high pointed last year? Remember the one that Aaron Rodgers threw in the back of the end zone on the free play? I think it was against the Patriots. Completely mossed the guy, right? Guys, the ball placement matters. I'm not saying that Christian Watson's been a great receiver this year. I'm not saying that. But to sit here and pretend like it's okay to throw a ball into coverage, underthrow a ball into coverage. The balls that are being picked, show me the play where a defender doesn't smack Christian Watson's arm or touch the ball where the ball's being picked off, right?
Well, the only one we had was second quarter yesterday, I think. Mm-hmm. There was, Jordan threw a ball right. It was one of those, you got to make up your mind. Are you going to catch here? Are you going to bring it in? Yep. Scoot went here with the hands, had it, and dropped it. That's a drop. Yes, that's a drop. Okay, running up the sideline with a safety over your head and a DB trailing you the whole time. That's. You said it last night, Clayton, man. Do we want to play 50-50 football?
I don't.
With any regularity.
We never have in Green Bay
doing that. Yeah.
It's always been about timing. It's always been about route concepts, combinations, working the right combination, half the field here is a too high beater, right? Or a middle field open beater. Over here is a middle field closed beater. Either that or true progression. And even with true progression, the goal isn't, all right, guys, there's only one defender on that receiver. Let's try that one. The goal is not open, not open, not open, check down, or not open, open, bang, hammer it in. And if the ball is behind, like Luke Musgrave, everybody makes fun of Luke Musgrave yesterday again, right? Going down the seam. And it's like, oh, here's Luke Musgrave stumbling again. Bro, he had to turn backwards to catch the ball. If it had been here, he's on the Jets and in for a touchdown. Last week, the throw that Love made, again, kind of behind him and high. I gave Love a little bit of leniency there because there was a defender right underneath. Again, you're throwing into coverage. It's got to be a perfect ball. And I'm not sitting there pretending like in the NFL, people are just running wide open every game. Okay.
Right.
And that's open in the NFL is much different than college football. But
I think we're spoiled from seeing Aaron Rodgers all those years, with success and skill and greatness, being able to thread the needle and to throw, in between coverage, or as we always say, throw a guy open. He's covered. I'm going to put the ball here. He's going to go get it. That takes time. That took years to build that kind of a game and to that kind of chemistry with your receivers.
Yeah.
We as fans have got to take a patience pill. We need to just chill out here a little bit and be patient. This is, we're 8 games in to his first year as a starter.
Right.
Are we seeing improvement? Yes. Are we seeing, phenomenal play consistently? No, because this is a work in progress, guys. I think it'll come. But Aaron Rodgers wasn't throwing laser beams his first year as a starter. We saw those little glimpses, just like we're seeing with Jordan. We're seeing these glimpses where, like, every couple throws, it's like, wow, look at that throw. Look at that touchdown to Romeo Doubs. Great ball, right?
Yep.
2-3 plays later, we're going, oh my God, what is he doing? That's called, getting it together, man. It's a work in progress, man. You're not just great. That comes with, time and practice and experience. And that's what Jordan's building right now too.
Yeah. And if you'll notice last year, Christian Watson turned it on in the second half of the season, right? It took a 4-time MVP half of a year to get the chemistry down with him, right? In game. And, one thing that I've definitely been wrong about is thinking, okay, Jordan Love's had 3 years to practice, right? So he's had basically two years. There's Ada. She's getting upset. She's like, "Can we move on to a different topic already?" It took him over half the year last year to get that chemistry down with him. And with Jordan Love, he's been practicing for 3 years. I'm going, okay, he should have the timing down, this and that. In game is different, right? And that's one thing. It seems like every year I have to write down 2 or 3 things that I learned this year that I thought I knew. And that's one thing I'm learning this year is like, look, it don't matter how long you practice, you've got to get that in game time right to see if you can actually get that timing down with people. But again, I think people don't like my stance on this type of topic because my stance is very boring. You've got plenty of people on Twitter that are trying to fuel the fire of division, right? Because it gets interaction on tweets and all those things, right? I'm not going to be an interaction whore on the pod or, on Twitter or whatever. I'm going to see, if I see it, I'm going to say it. And to me, the ball placement has been suspect at times and the receivers haven't played up to their potential. It's I couldn't tell you how many times in my note I put bad ball, bad drop, basically meaning it was a bad ball. He didn't help his receiver, but it did touch the receiver's hands and he should have caught it. Right.
Yep.
And many people don't like that stance, but that's just kind of the way I see it for sure. As a matter of fact, I'll throw this up here. This was a Rob Domofsky tweet, and this is really what's kind of fueling it. One of the comments, and I like Rob. I think he's a great follow. Me personally, I don't know, when I want to know what's going on with the Packers, man, I go straight to his first because he's usually got it before anyone else. But Rob Domofsky tweeted out yesterday. He said that was Jordan Love's 4th interception this season when targeting Christian Watson. He has 9 total for the season. And then he quote tweeted that and put, make that 5 INTs while targeting Watson this season. Game over. Now, people read that and immediately, he got a ton of interaction. It's because he keeps dropping the ball. He keeps dropping. I'm going, how convenient is it that we're refusing to admit that, hey, he's thrown into coverage, Christian Watson's covered on that play, right? Like, That's the part that bothers me, is like, tell the whole story. And I don't think Rob's doing that. Rob's doing his job and
Yep.
knows, hey, look, this is a statistic. No doubt
Yeah.
about it. There's no denying
This all factual statement here in these tweets. There's
right.
nothing that's not true, right?
But when you put that up there, Tim, you get a ton of interaction. Oh my goodness, it's coming, right?
Well, boys and girls, a great time as any to remind you that facts don't care about your feelings.
Oh no, they don't.
They do
I
not.
don't care
They
if
are
it is
facts.
2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think a lot of this is from the fan perspective, Clayton.
What's that?
I mean, this is no secret. We love our quarterbacks in Green Bay.
Mhm.
That's what we do, right?
Oh,
We love
absolutely.
we
Yeah.
love our QB1s. Hell, we love our QB2s and our QB3s. We have celebrity backup quarterbacks here in Green Bay. We love our quarterbacks. So I think naturally a lot of the fan base, especially the C word side of the the fan base, the casual side of the fan base, is gonna just repeatedly side with the quarterback. If there's a drop, it's couldn't possibly be on the quarterback. It's going to be on the receiver. We've done that for years. Blaming guys that are trying to chase down a bad ball thrown into coverage, and somehow it's not the quarterback's fault. I think that just kind of comes with the territory. But guys, we got to do better as fans. Let's stop with the hanging on to all this the theatrics and the hype and the noise, man. We got to just take a breath and look at what's happening out there on the field. You understand it a little bit better.
Yeah, and I've got to be better at it. I usually don't get pulled into the game time tweeting, but I did
Yeah.
yesterday because I've seen people tweeting out Joe Barry running a light box, Joe Barry running a light box, and then literally 2 plays later they load the box, they do a pitch outside and get a 4th down conversion, and I'm like, you wanted the box loaded, there you go,
Yep.
right? And again, you post your opinion on Twitter, and people immediately jump in the mentions to tell you why you're stupid. If somebody comes in my mentions and says you're stupid or gets rude, it's one thing to say, I disagree, man. I think it's this. Okay, gotcha. If we've now interacted 2, 3, maybe 4 times, and every time we interact, it's negative, I'm sorry, man. I'm muting you and moving on. Like,
Yep.
we can have a conversation, but I'm not going to let people ruin my day because they just want to be a troll. That's a troll. That's a definition of a troll. The only time I hear from you is when you're being negative. You're trolling. It's that simple.
Yeah, and what are we here for? Are you here to understand the game better, or are you here to feel like you're right? And I think a lot of people put a priority on, well, I was right.
Right.
Okay,
Oh, no,
well, that's great. Be right and accomplish nothing. That's fantastic.
right.
You
Yeah, and the goal is to, like you said, to learn, to get better as a fan, understand exactly what's going on. That's my goal every week. I screw it up every week. I'm the farthest thing from perfect with that. But that's the overall goal. The goal isn't to go and tell someone else they're stupid or wrong. And
Yep.
that's what and the quote tweets are what crack me up. People who are like prominent, I say prominent on Twitter, it really don't mean anything, but people who have a large following will quote tweet someone who's got 200 followers to dunk on them and tell them why they're stupid. And it's like, why didn't you just comment on their post? Why did you have to quote tweet it? Oh, that's
Yep.
right. You're wanting the attention on you. Got it. Makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. I use the quote tweet to raise people up, right? Say, hey man, this is freaking awesome. Check this out. But anyway, it is what it is. That's Twitter though, man. That is the Thunderdome of Twitter. There's no doubt about it. SDN40 said, got to agree about the 50-50 ball comments. I don't want to hear those words ever again. Any idiot can design an offense around 50-50, but hey, man, do your job and scheme guys open. Absolutely. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what he says again here in a minute. He says, what happened to the Watson crossers?
Thank you.
Yeah, bro. What did I say going into that game too? And
We both said that. We wanted to see that.
This isn't a we told you so moment. Okay. I'm just saying, like, when you looked at it and they play a lot of single high man, it's slot cross all day long. You've seen it with the Jaden Reed touchdown. I'll tell you another play. Remember late in the game, the screen pass, the halfback screen, the slip screen they tried to run to Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the defense, as soon as he drops back, you've seen the backers kind of bite up. I think it was Jaden Reed wide open on a crosser, but we were going screen there. Right now, you and I both said against aggressive defense, we're at the halfback screen. So we're not sitting here on Monday morning saying, oh yeah, I didn't say that yesterday. I got you, but when you seen the crossers coming open, man. And Watson on the crossers, you've seen it early in the year, right? It was a blown coverage. The ball came out late, still a huge play. I think it was in week 2 or 3, if I remember correctly. But I'm with you on that, SD, and I'm all about scheming guys open as opposed to trying to take the 50-50 balls. And he hit the nail on the head with this one, man. I'm sorry, not that one, the one before, when he's talking about, anybody can scheme a 50-50 ball, bro. Anybody can. You can, and any quarterback can throw a 50-50 ball. Like, you drop back, you know where the safety's at. Is it middle open, middle closed? Okay, there's one-on-one, 50-50 ball. I did my job. Why didn't he catch it? No, that's bad football, man. That is bad football. Name the receivers that are great at 50-50 balls. I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? It's
Megatron.
yeah, exactly. Randy Moss, right? Think of the players that you think about. Jordy Nelson was pretty good, but he wasn't on that level, right?
Most of them are probably tight ends.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're probably big boy tight ends that can get
Gronk,
up there. Yeah.
Gronk,
And that's where you want to go with a 50-50 ball, right? And primarily you're going to be in the red zone. You're going to be looking to play a little basketball and throw it up to your big targets,
Yeah.
But like with regularity and a drive part of your offense, you're constantly just, it's not a good look.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see here. Romero Hill says, is it time to really just focus on Dobbs, Reed, and Wicks? Here's the deal. Like, they're watching these players all week long in practice, right? They understand, what these players bring to the table way better than any redneck podcast host like yours truly. Okay. So you still got a tremendous weapon in Watson. The main thing you want to do with Watson are those deep shot plays, get behind the defense, stretch the defense, all those things, draw some of that safety help. To me, yes, he's 6'4", but where on the scouting report do you see coming out of college that Christian Watson is a great jump ball receiver? It's not on there.
Not there.
The big thing for him is he's got the frame to be, right? He was lacking the hands, and he's got just freaking world-class speed, right? So in no way, shape, or form would I be drawing up a play to go, and I don't think Matt LaFleur did either, by the way. I don't think Matt LaFleur looked at that and went, hey, good decision, Jordan. I really don't. He's not – I don't think he's looking to scheme up 50-50 balls. It's just the decisions that you make, and every time that the game's on the line, they are thinking play or not play, they being Jordan Love. He's trying to go to Christian Watson, and you just continue to throw into coverage.
Yep.
Again, I'm sure there was a better answer on another option. The biggest problem I have, if that's fourth down, I get it, right?
Yeah.
But on a second down play, when you know it's 4-down territory and you just got to, you got to just continue moving the ball down the field, that's a tough look there. Definitely.
I'd like to see Coach
That's
LaFleur
the other thing too. Think about this, Tim, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but if you don't get aggressive there and you kick a field goal, right, and then you come back, you kick off, and you get the stop that your defense got again, you're right. They go right down the field and get right back in field goal range, right?
It's true.
And that's the tough part. That, and of course, missing the extra point, having the extra point block. That's something that nobody's talking about. That's the difference in you just taking a field goal at the end, tying it, and going to overtime. But go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that. I agree with that for sure. But I was just going to say that I wish Coach LaFleur would kind of, realize that, and I'm sure he does. I got to be careful how I word this. I would like to see more of stretching the field with the other field stretchers we have. Don Wicks can stretch that field. Jaden Reed can stretch that field. Hell, Romeo Dobbs can stretch the field a little bit. And, we got some decent tight end ability with Luke Musgrave to stretch the field. Just once, I'd like to see them stretch the field with those guys and send Scoot underneath or on one of these crossers. That play last year in Philadelphia is burned into my brain forever. Jordan Love comes into the game and, it's like the second or third throw that he had that night was a dart on a crosser to Christian Watson for a touchdown.
No.
We have not seen any of that this year at all.
It seems like Jordan Love's comfortable on those crossers too,
Exactly, right? Doesn't it that caters to his game, I think.
Yeah.
And again, Christian Watson, speed is his number one attribute. So if you've got a chance to get a guy the ball while his wheels are already moving in space with a linebacker trying to trail him across the middle, I mean, that's an ideal matchup. That's not a 50-50 ball, right?
Right. So Romero here in the chat says, is it time to really just focus on Dobbs, Reed, and Wicks? That's a great segue Romero, and I'm going to show you guys some tweets here that were really, really impressive. I say impressive. I think they really hit home with me. First of all, Paul Brettel on the rookies, and these are the positives we're talking about. Let me do this real quick. I've seen a comment down here. Jim Tyson was at the game, obviously they're in Pittsburgh. He says, "I thought the game was an improvement overall. Run defense took a step back, but we were in the game until the last play. Without the block kick, who knows what would have happened." I think all that's very true. Again, the run defense was bad, guys. There's no two ways about it. But at the end of the game, man, you get 2 stops, give your offense a chance to win, right? That's what the goal is. But Paul Brettel tweeted this out, Tim. He said, "Of Love's 289 passing yards, meaning yesterday, rookies Musgrave, Wicks, and Reed had 199 of them, catching 8 of 13 targets with a combined 5 receptions of 20-plus yards." You guys remember we did the breakdown a couple episodes ago where we noticed that the quarterback rating, it's where Carly Ray was making fun of me for being a stat nerd, where the quarterback rating when targeting these players, right? I think Musgrave had the highest QB rating. Love had the highest QB rating when targeting Musgrave. And then I think it went to Dontavian Wicks, I believe. And then it was Jaden Reed. Here you're seeing that spill over onto the field, right? I thought that was a really, really cool tweet by Paul Brettel. Another one that went out here, Tim, was Jaden Reed. This came from Ryan Wood. And he said, "Jaden Reed had best game of his career today, career high, 5 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. But he's had a sneaky good rookie season. Through 9 games, 28 catches, 417 yards, 4 touchdowns. So his 17-game pace is 52 catches for 787 yards and 7 touchdowns. All right, let's compare that now. Jaden Reed's 16-game pace of 50 catches for 741 yards and 7 touchdowns. Compare that to other notable Packers wide receiver rookie seasons. Greg Jennings, 45 catches for 632 and 3 tuds. James Jones, 47 catches for 676 yards and 2 tuds. Jordy Nelson, 33 catches for 366 yards and 2 tuds. Randall Cobb, 25 catches for 375 yards and 1 touchdown. Devontae Adams, 38 catches for 446 and 3 touchdowns. Christian Watson, 41 catches for 611 and 7 touchdowns. So I thought that was really, really cool. The tweet goes on, but those are the ones that are most notable. I mean, you think about this, Tim. He is on pace to outperform Greg Jennings, James Jones, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, and Christian Watson in their rookie years. That's exciting stuff, man. And this is why I like following Ryan Wood. Ryan Wood's one of the best follows on Twitter. Absolutely love him. So make sure you go give him a follow at by Ryan Wood. What do you think about those numbers right there, Tim?
Man, that's phenomenal. I mean, those are all Packer Hall of Famers right there for sure. I mean, what
they
can
really
you say?
are. You're right. Other than Christian Watson,
Other than Scoot, yeah. I mean, these are for sure Packer Hall of Famers. I just can't say enough about Jaden Reed. And the route running is great. He's slippery with yards after the catch too. He's got good hands. Speed is there as well. And my favorite thing that I like to talk about with Jaden Reed is his football acumen as a rookie and his IQ and intelligence as a football player. He had a muffed punt a muffed punt yesterday that he, after so many seasons of watching Ty Montgomery and Amari Rodgers and some of these just disasters in the return game, here's Jaden Reed who finally has a mistake, finally bobbles one. And what does he do? He does what a veteran would do. He immediately falls on the football. Most rookie guys in that situation are going to try and pick it up and run with it, and then they're going to get popped, and it's going to get recovered and walked in for a touchdown. That's normally what happens in those situations. And there's Jaden Reed being heads up and just falls on it, and we keep the ball, and off we go. So to me, it's just as much the mentals as it is the physicals with him, because he's just such a freaky good athlete, just an athletic dude with a lot of range. But the fact that his football IQ is just astounding for a rookie, nothing but impressed with Jaden Reed.
Yeah. Omer in the chat says Musgraves, Reed, and Wicks all done fabulous, especially considering how inept the O-line and run game have been. If you could get that run game going as far as the run blocking. And by the way, guys, if you go back and watch it, I went back and watched several snaps. I'd say probably a full quarter of offense for the Packers. Aaron Jones had nowhere to run the ball. And again, AJ figured it out, right? But you got different personnel, different sets. All those things will kind of manipulate the defense a bit. And you can bet your rear end when AJ Dillon was in, they were probably looking at it more from a stance of, okay, we don't have to worry about the home run here, right? Let's play a little soft in the run defense, and maybe he capitalized on that. But again, you got to give AJ Dillon credit for a great game too. But Musgraves keeps getting brought up there, Tim. So I want to flash this up real quick. I thought this was cool. And then we'll go to Carly Ray's comment. But Luke Musgrave, check this out. Luke Musgrave has 29 catches for 313 yards. Again, this is Ryan Wood. I love the way his brain operates. 29 catches, 313 yards, pace for 8th 500-yard season for Packers tight ends since 2000 as a rookie. Okay, so check this out. So rookie tight ends who have had 500 yards or more, okay, as a rookie tight end. Finley, okay, actually not rookies, but just tight ends overall in general. 55 catches for 767 yards in 2011. Finley in 09, 55 catches for 676. Finley in 12, 61 catches for 667. Jimmy Graham in 18, 55 catches for 636. Musgrave in 23, 54 catches for 591 yards is what he's on pace for. Tunyon, 52 catches for 586 yards in 2020. Donald Lee in 07, 48 catches for 575. And then Richard Rodgers in 2015 for 58 catches for 510. So it just shows you that the only tight ends, right, since 2000 who have had 500 yards receiving are all those players. Finley did it 3 times. Jimmy Graham did it in 18. Tunyon did it in 20. Donald Lee did it in 07. Richard Rodgers did it in 15. Musgrave's on pace to do it in his rookie year. Guys, that's exciting stuff. He should be able to break. I believe he's on pace to break or be right around that rookie receptions record as well. But Tim, that's pretty exciting stuff. If you need that flashed up there, just say so. But Musgrave, another one that's turning on. Again, the quarterback rating when they target him, got to get him more involved, no doubt.
Yeah, I was just going to say that should be, for lack of a better term, a safety net for Jordan Love. You talk about comfortability with targets. We've seen this with lots of teams, man. You lean on that tight end. You got a good tight end with good hands. He can get you yards after the catch. That's the guy you want to look to, when plays break down or things. You got a big target over the middle or out in the flat. Get him the ball. Don't hesitate. Get him the ball. Now, I do kind of understand the perspective Jordan Love's got because we got a few weapons to throw the ball to. You got Wicks and Reed running around. You got Scoot out there, Dobbs. Yep. Sometimes it's easy, like, oh, I just looked off my tight end and I'm forcing one down the field. I think Jordan will get more and more comfortable with looking for big 88 there and hitting them in stride and, putting it on the right shoulder, the correct shoulder, and throwing on time and in rhythm. This could get really interesting for us going forward. But I think we hit it out of the park with that pick. We got to give it up to Goody there. Luke Musgrave was a great draft pick.
To me, his pass blocking looks like it's improving too. He's really settling in. And run blocking a bit as well. You've seen a little bit of that flash last week on Chalk Talk. I put this back up about Jaden Reed because SDN 40 in the chat says those stats are skewed as all of the rookies have better receivers around them taking attempts away, but point taken. I think that's a very, very fair point, SDN, and it kind of crossed my mind as well. But when you look at that, I believe this is the right one. I'm going to take your comment down just a second. Yeah. Greg Jennings, who was the number 1 receiver when he was a rookie?
Driver?
Yeah, probably Donald Driver. Donald Driver. Would we consider Donald Driver like this Randy Moss-esque? You know what I'm saying? Yes, he was the number 1 receiver, worked in the slot the majority of the time, but could play all the positions, right? James Jones, his rookie year, who was the number 1 receiver?
That would have been Jordy? No.
Probably would have been Greg Jennings.
I was just going to say
right around that time, right?
Yep.
So Greg Jennings, when Greg Jennings was a rookie and got these great numbers, right, the number 1 receiver was probably Donald Driver, right? So when James Jones was a rookie, the number 1 receiver was probably Greg Jennings, right? Jordy Nelson, when he was a rookie, the number 1 receiver probably would have still been Greg Jennings, right? So you can see how the baton was kind of passed, right, each time. Devontae Adams, when he was a rookie, who was the number 1 receiver? I'm trying to think. It was Jordy, definitely Jordy, right?
Probably Jordy, yeah.
and then Christian Watson when he was a rookie last year, who was the number one receiver. That's probably the most impressive one, right? Because the number one receiver last year, guys.
Dobbs.
Lazard.
Yeah, Lazard or Dobbs.
So I know everybody's trying to throw Christian Watson off the bus here, but what he did last year was pretty impressive, right? This year he's struggling, but the quarterback's struggling with some of the accuracy, the placement on those balls as well. So just something to take into consideration. But again, I think that's a great comment there, SDN. You gotta take all things into consideration, right? When you're talking about these type of very, very specific statistics. Carly Ray in the chat said, did anyone see who did the first punt return for us? Gave me flashbacks to Amari Rodgers. Looked like he was catching a watermelon. That was Jaden Reed. And if you'll notice too, I kind of got ticked off because it looked like the halo rule. I'm pretty sure the halo rule still exists where you're not allowed to get within, what is it, like 3 yards, 2 yards of the guy catching it. And this is how Mike Tomlin coaches. I guarantee he coaches guys to do it. You'll notice the Pittsburgh guy gets as close to him as he can and runs right by his shoulder and kind of interferes with, those guys. It takes a different human being because, listen, guys, they can hit you. It's a penalty. But I think we would all agree if they want to lay you out, they can. It takes a different human being to stare straight up into the air while you got other guys bearing down you.
Knowing that a semi-truck is heading directly for you.
And they can do whatever. They can hit you. It's a penalty. But they can still hit you. That takes a different human being. So it did look like Amari Rodgers, Carly Ray. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think it hit him in the face mask and went through his arms. Luckily, he recovered it. Those are few and far between with Jaden. You go back and watch him in college and then what he's done as a punt returner here in the NFL. He's very, very good at securing that punt. But I think it was a good observation by your point. It's nerve-wracking. But again, if you go back and watch it, and I could be wrong, but in the moment I remember thinking, is there not a halo rule anymore? It kind of felt like that guy almost rubbed shoulders with him. He was so close. But
maybe it's like traveling in the NBA, they just don't call it. It's just like it's technically a rule, but we don't really call it anymore.
Yeah. Check this out. Jim Tyson in the chat said, on a personal note, I had a great time meeting Packer fans at the game yesterday, and the Steelers fans were pretty well behaved. That's what I've always heard about Steeler fans. Then he said, I heard a few, quote, hey, cheeseheads, sit down, and a couple cheese and crackers comments, but nothing offensive. I definitely had too many, quote, daddy sodas, though. So, yeah, you probably don't remember the worst of them there, Jim. If you had a couple daddy sodas, that's a good thing, man. You got to numb that out for sure. Let's see. This is tough right here, Omer. I think you shared this one on Twitter, and I've seen it. He said, you see the tape of DeGuara on the extra point block. He patted the guy on the back as he ran by to get an easy block. His blocking is beyond atrocious. Went to the Royce Newman School of Air Blocking. I did see that clip. Tim, it's bad, man. It's it's not. Listen, you miss on picks, right? GMs miss on picks all the time. But
just admit it.
Yeah, the good GMs acknowledge it. The guy does nothing well. He doesn't. And he's another guy that's just a great guy. Like, seems like he's just, man, you want it to work out, but how much more do you got to see? And I think earlier in the chat, I think it was Omer said, trade Savage, trade DeGuara. The problem with that with Savage is, or I think he said cut him is what it was. If you cut Savage, you're on the hook for the money regardless, right? So the goal would have been to trade him. Okay. And I think that was the actual comment was obviously cut, not trade. We're beyond the trade deadline now. But if you would have acknowledged that with Savage and just traded him for a 7th round pick, that travels. You could do a conditional 7th round pick and say, hey, look, you may not give us anything, but if anything, they're taking that money travels with them. They're taking that $7 million off the cap, whatever it's prorated for how many games you played. I'm sure that comes into effect, roll it into next year. But Goody's not willing to admit when he makes a mistake. That's the true story of this season that many of the Goody fans don't want to acknowledge. And it's tough for me to just sit back and again, I don't comment on other people's tweets, but man, it's tough when they're like, he does no wrong. Like you're refusing to admit you missed on DeGuara. You're refusing to admit you missed on Myers, although some people are still dying on that hill. You refuse to admit that you missed on Savage, and you just keep, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And 12 said it last year. I don't know if you guys remember, but he said, they said, well, how do you fix it? He said, I think you start cutting people's playing time. That's what he's talking about. If they're not getting the job done, move on to the next guy. Right.
Which is like, why do we have to say this at the NFL level? This is like Pop Warner School of Coaching.
Right.
Like,
and why do we crucify Aaron Rodgers when he said it and say he's a bad teammate? No, and guys, remember when he came back and he did that scorched earth press conference, right? when they first announced he's going to be coming back with the Packers. I think it was 2021, whenever it was. You know, he was like, his whole approach was, I don't want to be a lame duck quarterback. This is what he meant. He could see the team was kind of being set up to go, all right, look, we're about to do a reset here, right? And he didn't want his last 2 years to be like what's seemingly looking like what Aaron Jones's last 2 years are going to be, which is basically, I'm stuck on a team that's not really competing for a Super Bowl because the GM wants to turn the roster over. And I'm not necessarily saying, hey, look, I disagree with Goody doing that. We'll see. Only time will tell, right? We may look up next year and go, holy cow, look at this, right?
Yeah. But what we are saying is, if you miss, admit it, and let's correct the issue. Don't keep sitting on a sinking ship when it comes to these players, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, hey, Omer hit it on the head right here. Run that tape back. That extra point was blocked because of Josiah DeGuara.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah. And those are the things that don't really get told in the box score, that, you know what I mean? Like when you watch the highlights on Good Morning Football, you may see the block, but you don't know who it was. You don't, and it's just, well, this coaching staff's horrible, right? I think there's enough blame to go around. Don't get me wrong, but that's to me, I have a hard time believing that Matt LaFleur is going to Goody and going, man, it's DeGuara, dude. He's about to get it. They're probably sitting in that meeting going, this, and is wrong. And just like many staffs do, Goody's probably looking at him like, no, I think he's a good football player. You need to make it work. You're the head coach. You know what I mean? But I don't know.
This logic of like, oh, well, you know, he's not as big a role in our offense, so let's stick him on special teams. Right. And then he ends up costing us on special teams. It's like, dude, where's the next stop? You know, the next stop is practice squad and then goodbye. Like, you have to be decisive.
Yeah. Carly Ray said, let's see the Halo rule become a point of emphasis for next week. I'm so sick of hearing point of emphasis, Carly, after last week. By the way, that sneak that Pittsburgh ran, go look at the tape. I paused it and rewound it live on the broadcast, and it's kind of hard to see sometimes. It sure looked like those guards' helmets were in line with the ball. So funny how it only gets emphasized in a game where two teams that probably not going to make the playoffs, right? It's like, okay, this is a good one to put the example in. And since we're talking about officiating, let's just go to it here, Tim. A lot of people brought it up here. Let's see. I think it was right here. Bleeding Green and Gold said the backward lateral can't be understated. They even looked at it a second time and still got it wrong. That is the difference in this game. Bad calls like that can't happen. Completely agree. I'm not one to say that a call cost someone a game. I think there's a lot of plays you can make it up, and I think there's a lot of truth in that, but absolutely horrendous. The part that's so hard to stomach is this happens all the time. You guys remember they put the pass interference review rule in, right, where you can now review pass interference, and then all year long, everyone watching the game at home, fans from non-biased fans from different fan bases looking at it and going, how in the world did they not overturn that? Or, you know what I mean? This play right here, the question is, you've got to say, okay, you don't have to say it went backwards. All you have to say is, did it go forward? And the answer is no. The answer is it actually went backwards. But even a lateral, if they can't prove that it went forward, then by rule is a lateral, okay? So we've got an image we're going to pull up on that. Let's see right here. Omer agreed. He said, yes, lateral was another atrocious call by the referees. So many games being affected by poor officiating all around the league this season. And that's the thing, too, Omer. I think you say it great there. Very well stated. You know, we're not sitting here saying the Packers are the only team that's getting screwed. Their fan bases all across the league are agreeing. Here's the image I want to show y'all. Kurt Benkert sent this out. Look at where his hand is, where he threw the ball. And then the other line.
Where the ball's going.
Yeah, the yellow solid line is where the ball ends up. Okay, I wish he had another shot there showing where the ball ended up, but that's essentially what he's showing there. That is
and the blatantly obvious fact that the receiver had to turn around and catch the ball behind him on his back hip.
It's wild, man. Absolutely wild.
I saw that live and called backwards pass. My wife had to tell me to calm down. I was fuming when this play happened.
Yeah.
And then imagine my surprise when we challenge and they look at it again and they still screw us.
That's the part that's so hard to handle.
That's the part that makes you wonder about what's really going on. That's as far as I'm going to go. We're not going to do a conspiracy corner at this
you want
early
me
in
to
the
key it
morning
up?
on a Monday. But
I'm telling you, Tim, I'm not one to. I don't want to even entertain the thought that games are decided by the refs on purpose. I don't. But when you see something like this, man, God, it's so tough. It's so
again,
tough.
our guys finished that play so well. I'm so proud of Carrington Valentine, Rashawn Gary flying in, ignoring the stupid whistle from the ref because they're playing football and they saw a backwards pass. They saw a live ball on the ground, and they played through it. And we don't get the reward for that. And I guess that's why it's so frustrating. We don't know if we would have came away with points or not had they given us the ball and maybe not the continuation and the touchdown because they blew it dead. Maybe we get 1st and goal in that situation. There's no guarantee we put a touchdown on the board, but I'm pretty sure we would have. And
a 7-point swing is what.
Yeah, it's a pretty big part of the game. Now, yeah, you can't point to this play and go, "That's why we lost." No. But my goodness gracious, what is the point of review and 22 cameras covering this game? And then we got to hear Gene Sarator on the broadcast telling us it ain't a good angle. Are you kidding me?
Charles Davis, bro. Charles Davis said, I got to disagree.
Like you said, Clayton, the angle helps us see that it's backwards.
Right. Sarator actually said, now, Charles, he prefaced, Charles, I know you're going to disagree with this, but, dude, come on.
I know you're going to disagree with this because I'm only saying this because I want to continue to get my paycheck and not ruffle any feathers.
Yeah.
He's going to toe the line, man. A lot of these guys will. And I get it, man. People got families. You got mouths to feed. You got a career. You don't want to throw your job away, on principle. But, hey, I also respect the people that are willing to step up. And if you see it, you got to say it, right, Clayton?
Right.
I mean, this is just blatantly obvious.
You see the image here, okay? I want you guys to keep this visualization in mind here. What Ben Kurt tweeted out here, showing the dotted line was obviously the plane in which the ball was thrown from, and then the solid line being where the guy caught it. Now, let's go to the video here, okay? Here we go. I'm going to play this real quick if I can. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad.
Like, you're going to look me in my eye and tell me that ball went forward. Stop it.
And Tim, you hit the nail on the head. You don't even got to say it went backwards, although we know it did. But if this ball doesn't go forward, right? If it does, look, here's the thing. They're saying, oh, the angle doesn't help. Look at where the quarterback is standing. You see the line coming across the field. That's what I was saying by the angle should help you, if anything. Look at where the ball is caught. That's insanity. And again, if it hadn't been challenged, if we're sitting here talking about, you know what? Hey, look, in the moment, it's hard to catch these things in real time, all that stuff. I got you. They looked at it from multiple angles. Angles probably didn't even see. And they still said, you know what, we're going to do. I would just love to hear, and it's where I think it was the XFL got it right, Tim. You should have to have the audio on the broadcast too of the officials talking. Yeah. Because if something is said, well, no, guys, look, we really need this to, stay here. That, you know what I mean? It's going to be real fishy rather than, okay, look, yeah, I would love to hear if the conversation was, yeah, no, it was definitely a forward pass. I guarantee you that wasn't said.
I'd love to hear the conversation being pumped into the ref's earpiece.
It's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the conversation.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I thought you were talking about the refs' conversations with each other. I'd like to hear what New York is saying to these officials on the field. That,
and again, not to try to prove that the games are fixed, Tim. So we have the clarity and go, okay, let's put it to bed. But the only reason you wouldn't share that audio is because maybe something said they wouldn't put it to bed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, it's tough, dude. It's tough.
I mean, you see it live. You're screaming, live ball. It's a live ball.
Yeah. Again, look at this. Think of the running back turning around and look at where the ball is placed.
Right.
That's why. Like, if I'm done with it. I can't.
Like you said, it doesn't have. You don't even have to call it backwards. The ball didn't go forward. You're exactly right. That's the whole point of this. It was not a forward pass. You want to talk semantics about what you think it was. It certainly wasn't forward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. We got to get out of here. We just hit the hour mark.
Let's see. We're blaming refs. We don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. That's not why we lost, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Gave up 205 yards on the ground. That might have been a bigger reason why we lost.
I'll tell you why we lost, Tim. We lost the turnover differential battle to the best of my knowledge, right? You threw an interception in the end zone, into coverage. That needs to be said. Throw an interception in the end zone in the fourth quarter. You had an extra point blocked. You gave up over 200 yards on the ground rushing. The officials temporarily lost their vision. there's name one, name something. But what's crazy is, and this is what gives me so much hope, all of that we just said, and you only lost by 4 points. Right? Is that what it was for? Is that right? Am I thinking right? 23 to 4 points, right?
You know what though, Clayton? We've been saying that so many times this year.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, so what is it? Why can't we get over that hurdle? What is it, Tim? Think about it. Because as I'm saying, I'm tired of saying this. What's the first thing that comes to mind for you? How do you fix it? How do you win a close game in the NFL? Because we can't figure out how to do it. I'm telling you, it's too
well, I have one thought in my mind. You don't run gadget plays on 3rd and 11.
That's something we didn't have on the list, right?
we could not. We could stop doing that. We could stop running gadget plays on 3rd and 11, or
I got one for you.
Go ahead. I want to hear it.
Veteran experience.
Veteran experience.
Yeah. If you were to say to me, Clayton, game on the line. I seriously, this is a serious question. Game on the line, right? You need a touchdown to win this game. I've got 2 rosters built for you. Would you rather have the youngest roster in the league or the oldest roster in the league? Which one are you taking?
I want the one that's a hybrid. I want the one with some young talent and some old dogs in there.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And I don't want to go too far to either direction, honestly, because a team full of old dogs isn't always the best thing either.
So your number one choice would be a good male to hybrid, right? What would be your number 2?
Definitely, veteran leadership for sure. Yeah.
So when you look at it from that perspective, that's why I have a hard time with LaFleur falling on the sword, with all of the scrutiny on Jordan Love, the people that don't like Jordan Love, all the scrutiny on Christian Watson, right? You don't have where is the veteran leadership in that wide receiver room? And this is the thing. This isn't
Romeo Dobbs. That's who it is.
Yeah. This isn't the redneck Packer fan Clayton trying to convince people of this. This is what Mark Tauser says. Mark Tauser talks about how it was so important that he had Chad Clifton in that room with him, right? And then guess what Brian Bulaga says? Brian Bulaga says it was so important for him to have, I believe he said Mark Tauser. I think they might have played together briefly. It was so important that he named a veteran in there. He's like, you don't have veterans in these position rooms. You're really, really limiting the growth potential. And like Wildy pointed out, which I know a lot of people aren't fans of Wildy, but Wildy's been right about a lot of stuff this year, guys. We got to call it as we see it. One of the things he said is, you're telling me that it wouldn't help these tight ends having Mercedes Lewis as the fourth tight end instead of DeGuara? Let me ask you this. Who would you rather have preventing that block kick on the edge? Josiah DeGuara or Mercedes freaking Lewis?
Yep.
And that's when immediately the talk goes to, well, Mercedes Lewis isn't a playmaker, he isn't a game changer, this and that. Those are the little things you got in a Mercedes Lewis. I'm sorry. On some of those double sifts they tried to run, who would you have rather had? A rookie Tucker Kraft or a Mercedes Lewis? And again, Mercedes Lewis, pennies on the dollar. He would have wanted to come back. What's crazy is Matt LaFleur said openly in his press conference, we'd love to have Mercedes Lewis back. And then they asked Goody, and what did Goody say? Well, that's going to take snaps away from the young guys. Okay, it's going to take snaps away from DeGuara, who has proven nothing.
But it's like you're a GM. You're a GM, man. Like, why? Let the coach figure out who's getting the snaps.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. I could deal with that if that came out of LaFleur's mouth. Hey, well,
exactly.
we got some young guys. We want to get reps. I'm not hearing that from my coach. I'm hearing a coach saying, hey, we'd love Big Dog back for another year. Could provide some veteran leadership and stability in that tight end room.
Yeah.
And then we have a GM going, well, I got all these draft picks, man. We got to get them the ball. And it's like, are you a GM or are you a coach?
Right. Exactly. It's a good point. It's why it's got to kind of meld together. And again, I think we would all agree now what's held it together the last 3 years or since LaFleur came in and since Goody took over is, there's one big difference in this roster, right? There's a few big differences, but the major one is you let Aaron go, right? You trade Aaron. And then on top of that, you let Mercedes Lewis go, Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard, all those guys, right? And again, not that Randall Cobb's going to go out there and put the numbers up that these young guys are putting up, but the veteran leadership in that room, it makes a difference. It does, I think. And
especially when you had hit it on the head, Clayton, when these guys aren't looking at the organization going, give me 25 million. They're willing to take that pay cut, that end of career stage veteran. I'm basically a player coach. I'm like an extension of the coaching staff.
yeah,
Mercedes wasn't playing hardball with money.
no,
He probably would have signed whatever we put in front of him, to play. So
yeah. I'll tell you someone else who probably doesn't miss that block either, and he wasn't a great blocker. It's probably Bob Tunyon.
yeah,
Like, I'm just being real. That's not to say that Bob Tunyon is a great player. I'm not saying that. It's just going to show you how much DeGuara has underperformed in key situations. Redbow in the chat said, I still miss Mercedes. Let's see right here. Mercedes was a, quote, run through a wall for him type of dude. Young bloods need that mentality instilled into them. Completely agree. Think about where you work. And the people that have these opinions that this stuff doesn't matter, I guarantee you look at their job. They work in a cubicle. They work in isolation. They don't depend on other people to make things happen. Bro, I used to do concrete and steel work. When you're on that job site and you're out there and you're dangling from rebar from a grade beam 45 feet in the air, and this guy's watching everything that's going on around you. When you're running a concrete pump truck holding literally a rubber hose 45 feet in the air, and by the way, you're not tied off, just being honest. And I know when OSHA shows up, boy, that thing gets latched quick because, safety first. But when OSHA ain't around, it's get the concrete and the beam, get it finished. Let's go home and cut down on payroll. That's how that works. But when you're up there, I'll never forget, I had a guy, Chris, working with me. I'm working that pump 45 feet in the air over at a place called Milligan College here in town. And I'm walking this grade beam, right? And he told me beforehand, he said, listen, if that hose gives it all, I mean, if it shifts 6 inches, he said, you let go. You let go, you get center of balance, and you hold on to this beam, right? Sure enough, I'm walking across. I'm full of piss and vinegar. I'm like 24 years old. I ain't nothing hurt me. I'm walking this beam holding this hose, and it gives, right? And it goes, and what did I do? I tried to grab it. Thinking I was going to hold it. It's just natural.
right.
I'm telling you, before I could even get my balance completely, I get the loudest bang, 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 bang on my hard hat. And I was like, what is hitting me in the head? And I finally looked back, and it was Chris. He'd pull his clines out and just beat the hell out of me over the helmet. And he was like, he was so mad, and he got the point across. When you're having to work in a somewhat hostile environment, I guess you could say, an unsafe situation, or a situation like what pro football is, where it's, look, man, split-second decisions determine whether you win or lose, whether you get paid or get cut, all those things. You want people around you that's got your back, right? And they know what the heck they're doing.
Yep.
When you go out there with a roster this young, that's why I'm saying let's cut down on the LaFleur hate just a bit, because, man, he was put in a bad situation with this roster being so young. Now, there's some potential and upside. And, again, this isn't just all Goody hate. Look at the Reed pick, great pick. Musgrave, great pick, right? Dontavian Wicks seems to be a great pick. Jordan Love's showing flashes. He could be the guy. I'm still on that.
Yep.
Yeah. But you're going to lose close games when you decide to go with this young of a roster. And that's where Jason Wilde got it right. And he said earlier in the year, like, he was the one who beat it home. I mean, he hammered it home about Mercedes Lewis. So you're saying that you don't want that veteran leadership because you're afraid it's going to take away snaps. How many snaps would it possibly take away if Musgrave is your starting tight end?
And who cares if it's taking away snaps? If the
I guarantee you Musgrave don't care.
Yeah. And the snaps we're getting aren't that great.
Right.
Oh, no, we're taking away Josiah DeGuara snaps? Oh, my goodness.
That's the thing. Like, that's the snap that you took away from. But, again, if you're a GM who's not willing to acknowledge, I probably missed on that pick, that's how that happens, right? That's exactly how it happens. The same way that you're willing to pay $7 million to Darnell Savage when, the Bill Parcells school of thought, and this, I know it sounds cold-hearted, but Bill Parcells was one of those guys. He was no-nonsense type of coach. I love Parcells. He said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. That's what he always said about player personnel. When a player shows you who they are, believe them. Don't try to make them into something that you want them to be, right? So,
That's right.
Look at this. As we sign off here, Beard Don hops in and says, "Morning, guys. Morning, Beard. Appreciate you swinging through." Obviously, you guys can go back and watch it later if you want. It's on YouTube and kind of on demand, if you will. So I'm enjoying doing the morning show. The crowd, it's so cool to see you get a little bit different crowd in the morning than the evening.
Yep.
And the evening gets a little off the rails, guys. There's no doubt about it. And I think it should be like that. As a matter of fact, we got a clip from last night. I want you to key, and we're going to sign off after this. I'll get your final thoughts, Tim. I want you to key on 3 dynamics to this clip from last night, okay, in the post-game show. That's why you guys need to make it to the post-game show. We have a blast. So a listener asks something along the lines of, what does Christian Watson do well? I want you to look at me, try to come up with something. So watch me trying to come up with something. I want you to quickly glance at Tim, how he looks like he's ready to kill somebody, right? And then watch Emilio try to button it together like the little brother that he is. Watch this. You ready? Again, Tall thank you for the super chat. Josh Martin with the super chat says, outside of running fast, what does Watson do well? He can't high point the ball, doesn't fight for the ball, drops the ball, gets hurt a lot.
He can block. He's been blocking well this year.
Emilio said he can block.
You can call me anything you want, but don't call me that.
All right. I can't imagine a receiver wants to be called a good blocker and not good at anything else.
No, man. But
I'm telling you, man, Tim, that absolutely broke me up, bro. I'm crying again right now. Just
Classic.
Knowing what was going through my head, I wanted to go, come on, guys, stop hating on Christian. And I'm going, damn, he's got a point. I can't say anything here. And you up in the top just looking like Jeffrey Dahmer or something, bro.
Hey, careful, man. I'm from Milwaukee. Careful with that Dahmer stuff.
Whoa, there it is.
That's like you can't. That's the name. We don't say that name. No, I'm just saying. No, but that's funny. You know what's crazy though? I was so angry looking because I'm like you, man. I don't get all the hate. I don't get all the Christian Watson hate.
Right.
You know, I don't make
that was
this
what was going through my mind is like, why are we turning on this guy? You
know what Christian Watson does well? You know, we've had a little time to think about that answer. He deals with adversity well. You know, and a guy who's been dealing with these struggles that he has, especially this year, and the vitriol and hate that he's getting from fans that supposedly love him and this team. We're all supposedly Packer fans. I think this guy stays positive. It has a great attitude. And you don't see that a lot of time with young players. Sometimes young players, that stuff can get in their head and ruin it for them. So, you know, ease off a little bit, guys, on this. I know it's frustrating. Nobody likes losing games. And like you said, Clayton, winning fixes everything. Keep winning games. Show us as fans that you can win 2 games in a row. You haven't won 2 football games in a row. And that's really what, you know, we were looking for here. And that's why it was so, you know, gut-wrenching to walk away with a loss yesterday. But hey, at the end of the day, man, these guys are human beings, man. Yeah. You know, it's like, talk about their play, but that's it. Draw the line there. So I would say that's my answer. I think Christian deals with the hate pretty well.
Yeah. And, you know, the thing I think that the reason I'm a little more critical on Goody than everyone else is because these players have to face that on Twitter. They have to go up and talk in the locker room after having a bad game or after hearing all this stuff, hearing people go after his family on Twitter and all those stupid, toxic things. Matt LaFleur has to go out there with the youngest team in the NFL and try to put together a winning season somehow, some way, right? And then he has to go up immediately after losing a tough game every single week and talk to the media. And Goody has to speak one time a year. That's just wild to me. That's why I'm a little more like, and when I say why hasn't Goody said anything, people go, oh, don't go there. He doesn't have to talk to. He should. If his coach, you want to talk about good leadership? A good leader will deflect praise, right, and absorb criticism. When the team's struggling, if Matt's got to go up there, by God, I'm going up there. If my players have to face this scrutiny, I'm going to face this scrutiny. The fact that it's just laid back and, you know, okay, yeah. Well, I got my one presser in this year. I understand he's scouting. He was at the game this weekend. I know Jake's been talking about all the games he's traveling around to. I got you. Do a conference call or something. Just do a quick media session on Zoom. That way you're absorbing a little bit of it too. It's called culture. It's called, these players, some of them might be bitter that we know they were bitter. Rasul Douglas was cut or was traded, right? All these things. And now they're sitting back going, they traded my buddy, right? Who was a team leader here in the locker room, which, by the way, it's just still amazing to me that everybody is now all of a sudden, when he's not on the Packers roster, Rasul Douglas is a bad football player. That blows my freaking mind. When he was traded, the week before he was traded, he was the second highest graded player on the Packers roster, right? And nobody had anything negative to say. The second he gets traded, the Goody fans or the Goody apologists immediately come in. Oh, well, he's actually had 2-3 bad games. He's played. It's like, bro, really? Are we doing that now? But it's all about culture. And I'm not saying Goody has to do that, but if I was Goody, I would be getting in front of the media somehow, some way, and starting to absorb a little bit of this, to take some pressure off of Matt, take some pressure off these players, and say, hey, look, I put this team together. We wanted to go young. I believe in them, and stand up there and say something like that rather than just, well, I just think we ain't executing. I think we're leaving plays out there and this and that. Like basically saying there's nothing wrong with this roster, and also be willing to admit, hey, I made a mistake, right? You could say that about a DeGuara. If he came out and did a presser, and let's say DeGuara was cut, and I'm not calling for anybody to be quiet. Let's just use that as an example since we've seen it's bad play, blocked extra point, all those things. If he comes out this week and let's say he cut DeGuara, do a presser and say, you know what, man, it was a pick. It was a mistake I made, and just want to thank Matt and the players for trying to patch it together. No offense to DeGuara. Hopefully he gets picked up somewhere else and has a great career, but that was my bad, admitting a mistake. You know how far that would go for the culture of the locker room? And some people might think, oh, they're grown men, they need to get over it. Okay, again, those are the ones that work in the cubicle and don't depend on other people to help them do their job good. That's just
and I agree. And you can say that without dragging Josiah DeGuara at all. You can simply, own up to the fact and say, hey, Josiah's a great player. He's just not a good fit. And we, like you said, wish him success somewhere else. But we're not getting that. We're not getting that accountability. You look at any organization, I don't care if it's, the store down the street or whatever. If there's issues, the first place you want to look is general management.
Absolutely.
To be honest, it's general management. And beyond that, then ownership. Well, we know how ownership works here in Titletown. So, you got to go with GM, right?
Yep, definitely. One last comment. We're going to get out of here. We're way over on time. But this has been a good conversation, man. Chat's been absolutely awesome. Afam, I think I'm saying that right. Afam says, at Clayton, who I know is a Kentucky homer, haha, winky emoji. Valentine sure looked lost and frail. I think a second-year jump will be exciting to see. He had a tough game yesterday, and him grabbing on that jersey. Now, again, keep in mind, the people who were defending Goody last week for trading Rasul Douglas took a little victory lap last week, right? The locker room seemed fine to me, right? I thought it was supposed to destroy the locker room. When you play well, right, and things are going somewhat positive, i.e., Valentine having a good game last week, yeah, culture isn't an issue. Pat McAfee talks about it all the time. Those same people hate Pat McAfee's show, but they don't want to hear former players telling the truth. But with that being said, you're going to see that culture issue rise up when things are going really, really bad. They're going bad right now, but we're not getting blown out, right? That would be really bad. Right now, this team's trying to compete, right? And that's what kind of keeps people a little more on rather than cleaning house, like I know several people in the chat have said. And that's the other thing too, Tim. Is there any scenario? I'm going to ask you this question as we wrap up. And again, I completely agree, FM. I think that Valentine had a bad game yesterday, and I was so excited for him. And I think he's still going to be a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's shown those flashes. We've seen his ceiling. Now we need to get a good gauge of his floor, and let's see how they can manage him and get the most out of him. But what was I asking you just now, Tim? There was a specific question there. You remember?
You were going to ask me something. I don't know.
Oh, Lord, it's gone. It's already gone. It was good, too. I'm telling you, it was life-changing, bro.
I think
can't remember it.
Just to piggyback off that, though, you're right. Valentine didn't have a great game yesterday, but that's how you get better. You're gonna have bad games. You're gonna make mistakes, and that's how you learn and move forward.
Definitely. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Again, the secondary didn't get better; it got weaker when you traded Russell Douglas. You gave up a fifth, you got a third, which is basically see Lincoln back here, which is basically a fourth round value is what you got for Russell Douglas. Let me ask you this: do you think that Carrington Valentine plays better if Russell Douglas is on the field? Maybe in the weekly preparation, the things that we're talking about. You see the camera shaking as you see, the team begin to struggle in the secondary a little bit there on that. And again, that was man coverage. You guys heard me talk about it all year. I'm tired of talking about it. You play man coverage, you're going to give up explosive plays, and that's what people are seeing this year. But I don't know, man. It's just that's what I was going to ask you, Tim. I know it now. How many wins? What do you think the record would be that would justify Matt LaFleur losing his job? Or do you think, nope, no chance, no way would I fire him this year? Let's get through this year. If that's the answer, that's totally cool. I don't even know if I have an answer, but what's the first thing that comes to mind for you? Let's say we lose the rest of the season. We don't win another game. Do you think it's warranted that Matt loses his job, or do you think, no, he deserves another shot?
Well, I think, first of all, Matt LaFleur deserves to be here as long as his contract was. I believe he's got like 3 years left on the deal, something like that. To your point, this is the team that he has been given, because clearly there's clearly some kind of disconnect between coaching and the GM office and, some of these decisions being made. So no, I don't think it's about how many wins or losses. We've seen 13-3 seasons, and we've seen 8-9 seasons from LaFleur. With this team, we always talked about getting a gauge on these players that we have and what Matt LaFleur and his offensive plans can do with these players. So yeah, I don't think it's fair to base it just on the record. And I'll just say this as well. Yeah, I am in the camp that I think we should stick with our coach. And I'm the first one to tell you that I don't agree with a lot of the moves all the time. I'll be the first one to call out the stupid gadget play in crunch time during the game. However, I don't think bailing on him at this point or at the end of this year is going to do us any favors. It's real easy to sit here and say, fire them all, clean house. And then you have no plan whatsoever of what the next move is. Your answer to everything is just fire Joe Barry, fire Matt LaFleur, fire Brian Gutekunst. Okay, well, then what?
Right. What's the next move there?
Then what? It's spoken like someone who's never had to make a decision professionally in their life, because everything has
logical in here, Tim. Stop being logical.
Yeah, I know, right? Wouldn't want to do that. But no, that's my thoughts, man. This is not about, when a team struggles, and there's failures in multiple aspects of that. You can't pin this on one guy. We can go back to Big Mike, man. They ran Big Mike out of here kind of bogus
mid-season.
Yeah, well, not there was only a couple games left. It wasn't even mid-season.
That's a great point.
And it's like, dude, you couldn't let this guy coach 3 more games or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't think fire them all, burn it down. That's a human response, right? That's a innate response when you're frustrated and things aren't going right. But that's not always the answer, man. So I think we have to look at the pieces we have. We have to put trust in the guys that we've entrusted with these jobs, from Goody on down. So yeah, man, I'm not ready to fire LaFleur right now. And I guess talk to me at the end of the year if they drop these next, whatever we got, 7
and
games
how they lose them, right? That would determine too, like how if they're in every single game and you're like, okay, Jordan continues to improve. Yeah,
like we've seen, we have something to build on, right?
Yep.
We're not getting boat raced week in and week out.
Yeah,
and if that starts to happen, then maybe we have these conversations, or maybe we start leaning towards. But I'll tell you what. If you're going to talk about firing Matt LaFleur, I want to hear your top 3 picks to bring in to coach this football team, because, just pointing fingers without proposing solutions is complaining. And we got enough people complaining right now. Give me a solution. Same thing with Goody. You want Goody gone? Well, then who's our GM? Same thing, right?
Yep.
What did we say when we got rid of Mike Pettin? Everyone wanted Mike Pettin run out of here. And nobody had a suggestion about a defensive coordinator that they wanted.
Yep.
We go out and make a move, and everyone complains about the move that we made. So, hey guys, I don't know.
People
Not
are
putting pressure out, man. It's too early for this, Clayton.
people are already checking the team statistics. I guarantee you. I love this one. Chris Andrews says the Lions offensive coordinator, they're doing good on offense. Can we get a name there, sir? At least Google a name. No,
Oh my Lord.
it's funny because that's how my mind fires too. It's like, okay, if you do change coaching staffs, who's the better choice? Well, no matter how better the choice is, they're going to be inexperienced. That's a given, right? Unless you're going for someone who's got a track record. I know what's going to happen though. And we got to get out of here. We're so far over, but this has been a fun conversation, man. We've had so many differing opinions in the comments and everything. When Bill Belichick gets canned in New England, it's probably coming. That's going to spark up here. I'm telling you that immediately people are going to go get Bill. And it's like, bro, Bill's 72 years old, man.
Bill ain't going to come here and deal with these kids, man.
Think about that. The youngest roster in the league. And you look at how he likes to build his roster. He loves those veterans, man. Loves them. But anyway, it's coming. Coming like a freight train. I'm with you. Like it depends on how they finish, right? And not necessarily the win-loss as much as it is if we're still competing. And again, man, you got to look at, and we're going to do it on Chalk Talk. I'm way behind on that. We got to look at the tape and go, okay, what happened and why did it happen? And the big things that come to mind for me are your turnovers, right? 2 picks, your run defense. Okay, now you dig deeper and go, okay, why was the run defense bad? Was it bad scheme? Was it bad execution? Was it bad tackling? All those things.
Yes.
There's just a lot to dig into, and you gotta really understand why. And then you look at that and go, okay, Tim, if that's what happened and why it happened, okay, does that fall on Matt LaFleur's feet? Does that fall on the inexperience? Does that, there's a lot of different factors that take into play. It kind of feels like to me, everybody gets 1 year here. That's what it feels like,
Yeah.
So, we'll see though. I know that's not the fun opinion, but it is what it is.
And if we're all in agreement that it's a rebuild, right? Like I don't care what anyone wants to say, then those take time, right?
Yep.
You want to tear down your house and rebuild it. It might take a day to demo it, but you ain't going to rebuild it in a day. So keep that in mind when you're ready to fire the whole organization, and understand that this is a process, right? We're in the process right now. Reload, rebuild, retool, whatever adjective you want to put in there. So this just objectively would be the worst time to change the guard.
Yeah,
because you're saying you're in the middle of rebuilding for the future, and you're gonna fire everybody right now. So I agree to disagree though. It's cool. I know Omer doesn't agree with me, but that's all right. Me and Omer agree on a lot more than we disagree on. So it's all good, man.
Omer's he's out for blood today. My man is. I love his passion as a Packer fan, and that's okay. It's what I'm saying, man. It's okay to disagree. It's totally cool. I was going to read off our current draft picks as it sits right now, the upcoming, but we'll do that later on. We're going to be back for PTA Packers Total Access Live tonight. So you guys make sure you swing through for that. I'm really, really looking forward to hanging out with you guys. Tim, I don't know if you're available. If you are, I'd love to have you, man, as always. What was the other thing I was going to hit on? We're going to hit on that. We'll have, I'm sure we'll have a little bit more, maybe a few more injury updates, things like that from the roster. Like I said, we'll talk about the draft picks. Also, Gunsmoke Games. If you're watching this, shoot me an email, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Gunsmoke Games. Hit me up with an email, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You won the autographed Dave Robinson jersey. So with that being said, Tim, appreciate your time, buddy. We went way over, but I could talk ball with you all day, man. I really, really thank you so much for hopping on here. For those of you in the chat, thank you so much, especially the super chats. Josh Martin, appreciate you hopping in here, man, and contributing to the show. It's funny too. Every super chat I think we disagreed with, but that's all right, man. That's what makes the world go round, my man. But again, thanks to everybody. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.